It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman. In with you and a whole page full of topics here today. Wow, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about on the broadcast today. I'm very much looking forward to that. I have maybe a little different opinion on what could be going on with Andrew Bailey as he's leaving the state of Missouri as Attorney General and joining the Trump administration as the co-deputy director of the FBI. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Coming up at 10:30, USAID was broken up several months ago, and things are falling apart everywhere. I'd ask this, when was the last time you saw an Antifa demonstration? It's been a minute, huh? I think their funding's been cut off, but I am really excited about funding and things that have been cut off to the media in America and the way the media landscape is changing. MSNBC has changed their name. NBC News and the parent company Comcast are so embarrassed by what has happened with MSNBC. They're taking the NBC away from them. No more Peacock logo, none of that stuff. They're branching off into a separate division of the parent corporation, which is Comcast. We'll get into that at 10:30, what that means and who stays and who goes, because a lot of these people are not going to be allowed to cross over. NBC News will not be part of that channel anymore. Big changes. Why Tom Cruise turned down the Kennedy Center honors this year when the Trump administration called and asked him to go in with the class that was announced next week. And, of course, we got Mark Van Sickle coming up, where we'll talk a little sports toward the end, including a flyover too close for call. It's the lowest flyover I've ever seen at a stadium, and it's one of the oldest stadiums in America. It happened this week, and it scared the bejesus out of everybody in there, including one of the baseball teams that they just about wrecked them. They were in the dugout, and they all hit the ground. It was unbelievable. We'll let you know what that was. We begin today with a different take on the stadium story in Kansas City. You now know the news. Ty Masterson came out on Pete Mundo in the morning yesterday and said he believes both teams are headed to Kansas, and if he were a betting man, he'd bet on it, and advising all of us to go bet on it. So we've got that. This came, as I mentioned yesterday, a week after I had a source tell me that someone in the negotiating team at the state of Missouri had given up and said, it's over, they're both going to Kansas. That was at the state level in Jefferson City. We believe there are still optimistic people in the Kansas City area to keep the Royals, either in Clay County or Washington Square Park or whatever. The mayor would be one of those. The group of investors and the landowners north of the river are certainly still optimistic. Talks have not been cut off. It's not like just over, that's it, you're done, we sent you a cease and desist letter. That has not happened to the people in Missouri. So there is still time to get something on the ballot and see if the sales tax in Clay County is passed and that the Royals would choose that instead of Overland Park. So these things can happen. But on the record, what we know is everybody, I've got three sources, okay? I talked to another legislature in Kansas. Two of them are in Kansas. One of them was Ty Masterson on the air yesterday. It's not my source. It's all of our source because he said it publicly. I have one in Jeff City and one in Topeka, and all three people are saying the same thing. They believe both teams are going to Kansas. So that's all I know. But what do I know? I'm just talking to these people. Here's the point of all this. I've got a fairly interesting background that I have not shared very much publicly or talked about much on the air. But I will today because I think it's relevant. So I was the co-founder of Union Broadcasting when Sports Radio 810 first started, and I wound up as the largest shareholder in the company. It was a combination of hosting a show, attempting to assist in running a business. I can't say that I ran it. I ceded that to partners to run it because I was busy doing the radio show. But anytime there was an important decision, as an executive on the board, I would be involved in those meetings and discussions. If it was big, I was there. And we moved things around for my schedule. So we had negotiations on multiple occasions with the Royals and the Chiefs. In the early 2000s, we eventually got the Royals contract and had the rights to their games for 4 years. Later, we would get rights to become the official broadcast partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I remember Mark Donovan sitting in our offices in Overland Park, and we had a long meeting, and he came down to my office, and we chatted for a couple minutes when it was over, and he says, man, it's really cool, being in the NFL and being with the Chiefs. This is a Ivy League educated guy running a multi-billion-dollar business. He said, I can't tell you what kind of respect I have for you local guys in your hometown starting something like this up against these big, massive companies you're competing against. And I was on cloud nine. I lapped it up. I loved it. I couldn't believe he was saying these kind things to me and these wonderful things about our business. And we couldn't have been more convinced we were going to be partners with the Chiefs. And we won some and we lost some. And what I learned looking back and what's going on right now is these teams are better at this than all of us. They're slick. They have unbelievable lawyers. They have an innate ability to make you feel good because their product makes you feel good. They're not selling you a cancer drug. Okay? This isn't Bummerville. This is exciting. It's fun. When we negotiated with the Royals, and the first 2 times we did, we lost. We didn't get them. We didn't get the rights. The last time we negotiated, we did. We wound up losing so much money because we overpaid that we didn't do it again. We had to walk away from it. It was going to break us. That happens too. Rights deals with sports teams are not awesome. They're not great. It's fun to have the games. It's good for ratings. It's not always good for business. It's the same thing for these 2 states in any community or municipality or any of the business people doing this. These are accomplished people. Ty Masterson is the president of the Kansas Senate. He's running for governor. That's a pretty big deal. The people in Clay County, some big shots. I'm telling you right now. There's an extremely wealthy family with a lot of land involved in this and very competent, smart people that have made a lot of money in boring enterprises. Most of Kansas politics is mind-numbingly boring. If you're in Topeka and you're in the legislature, it's like going to the dentist every single day. It's not that much fun. Honestly, acquiring land and building apartments, you can make a lot of money doing things like that, but it isn't really sexy. So what happens is these people who've made a lot of money and know that they're really good at business get overexcited when they're working with sports teams. My God, I've got the president of the team in here. The owners are never there. I can think of one time, well, we met with David Glass's son on multiple occasions. He was the president of the team at the time. He was in meetings, but David Glass never came to a meeting. We would have opportunities to speak with Clark Hunt. I remember that well. He was not necessarily in the offices or in the boardroom meetings or whatever, but we had access to him and could bounce things off of him. And it was a little more open than David Glass, who was very shut down in private. But there was a thrill to all of it. There are certain things in life that really thrill you. You have in your life whatever it may be. Maybe it's driving a sports car. Maybe it's hitting a golf ball 250 yards right down the middle. Maybe it's catching that record bass. There are things that just make you feel good. What's been going on with all these entities talking to the Chiefs and Royals for 4 years, and the reason you don't hear more frustration on their part is this is the time of their life. They feel like they're part of it. They feel like they're part of the team. They feel like they're part of the game. They love their teams. They're in this because they want this relationship with the teams. They want to own this like nothing else. Profits be damned. They will give away whatever because it's the most exciting thing any of these people have ever done in their life. It's like a drug. I've not taken drugs. I drink alcohol, but I've never been a drug user. Never taken them. But it reminds me of all these people that I see that are whacked out high on whatever they're high on. It's euphoria, man. It feels great. And you walk out of a 2-hour and 20-minute meeting with the Chiefs or Royals and their whole brass, and you're all shaking hands and laughing, and they're bringing you free swag in. Oh, here's the bobbleheads. Oh, yeah, you guys are great. Your business is so impressive. We're so excited about your signal, and your afternoon ratings are unbelievable, Kevin. And God, you guys are the best. And they always go wherever there's more money. There are no exceptions. The 2 times we won, we paid the most. We were the high bid. And it was the dumbest thing we could have possibly done. It was business we shouldn't have been in. And I'm not saying it's dumb for Kansas to be in this or for Missouri or any local entities or counties. I'm just telling you, you almost always lose, but you feel great about it. Oh, God, it feels so good to lose money. It's never been happier losing money. Look at this. We got a suite, man. We got a suite to the Chiefs games. I got Patrick Mahomes on my show. I'm sitting face-to-face with Patrick Mahomes, Every day, all year, having him on every single week on my show. Ratings are great. Oh, God, this feels good. How'd we do last month? Not good. Not good. Not good. It's a strange deal, folks. And there's a lot of that going on right now because Pete, as he indicated on his show, is speaking with people in Missouri that just feel great about where they are. That they're on the cusp of something really good. They're very optimistic in their discussions with the Royals. We've heard Mayor Hughes talk about the optimism. They're staying in Kansas City. They're staying in Missouri. He'll change his story each time. They're staying. He loves it. The best part of Mayor Hughes' job is being the mayor and having these relationships with these teams. I'm telling you. It's trips to Germany. It's World Cup trips. It's suites to the Super Bowl. You name it, he gets it. It's the time of his life. He may go on to great things in politics. He's going to look back in 20 years, and I'm 20 years older than him. He's going to look back in 20 years and go, damn, that was the best time of my life. Those days with the Chiefs and those Super Bowls and all that stuff, I was part of that team. I almost got my own ring. I was such a part of it all. It's just different. But it doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it good business, and it doesn't make it right. I can't tell you how this is going to end up. What I can tell you is right now they're all in euphoric stage. They believe it's getting closer. Both teams are telling everyone what they want to hear, that they're incredible. Oh, my God, you're so generous. How many comments has Mark Donovan made? We're humbled by the offers from both states. You know what? It never happens. The Kansas City Chiefs are never humbled. Okay? They've gone 1-15. They've had a murder-suicide in their parking lot. They had a drug ring in their locker room, and they were never humbled. You don't humble NFL teams. It's not real business. They're the top of the mountain. You can humble a tech company because the government can slap them down and really hurt them. I think Mark Zuckerberg got humbled a couple of times. I think Tim Cook at Apple got humbled here recently. Some countries in Europe have done that to you. You don't humble NFL teams. There is no humble. It's a lie. They're not humbled by the offer in Missouri and Kansas. They're kissing their asses. Keep coming. Let's go. Let's get those offers higher and higher and higher. And everybody's all excited about it. It's the euphoria stage right now where everyone thinks the Chiefs and the Royals love them, and they're about to get picked. And guess what? More than half of you are getting played. They're just flat out looking you in the eye and lying to you. That's the truth of how these things work. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. We'll take your calls next. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. Well, it didn't take Governor Kehoe long to appoint Catherine Hanaway as the first female Missouri Attorney General. She replaces Andrew Bailey, who's heading off to D.C. to work for the FBI as co-deputy director. Hanaway was a U.S. district prosecutor near St. Louis. Catherine Hanaway is the new AG. She's got big shoes to fill. Wasn't Schmidt in there before Bailey? He was really good.
Yeah.
And became a senator, and he's been way better as a senator than anybody thought. He's awesome. And then Bailey obviously has a really bright future. I don't think he's hurt himself at all in the state of Missouri or even for some sort of a national spot at this point. I don't think the move hurts him in any way. He's got a really nice resume and has done some great things for the state of Missouri. But it was surprising when Andrew Bailey left, and a lot of people went, what, really? What's going on? Was there? And immediately you think, okay, is there trouble in Jeff City? And that's not this at all. This is an opportunity for him to go do something that he seems perfectly suited to. I think if there's any trouble, I'd ask the question, why is it necessary to have a co-deputy director of the FBI? And my theory is a little different than most. I don't know Dan Bongino. I don't. I really liked him on radio. I loved him on Fox News when he was on there. I liked his podcast. I like everything about him. He's very intense. He's very far right. He likes conspiracies a little bit more than I do. He believes more things are bad or broken more than I do, but I have no problem with that, especially for entertainment or for me to be open to the idea that he's right on this or something. I liked hearing it. I always enjoyed his content. But never in my life did I watch Dan Bongino on television, listen to him on radio or his podcast, and think, boy, there's a guy that's easy to work with. Yeah. I could be co-deputy director with that dude. I want to be co-something with Dan Bongino. This sounds like a Bongino problem. And the reason I bring that up is I went on the record pretty early on saying I couldn't believe all the celebrities Trump hired. Like, he just loves hiring people with name recognition. He did a phone-in this morning on Fox and Friends, and that Ainsley Earhart was on there. She's on Fox and Friends in the morning. And he started in about her and Sean Hannity being lovers. And you guys are the biggest celebrity couple, and D.C. is safe now, and you guys can go to a restaurant and walk down the street and hold hands like lovers do and be safe. And she's so embarrassed. She's sitting there like embarrassed or whatever. But he's like, I don't know which one of you makes the most money, but you're both superstars. You're just unbelievable. And he's going on and on about what a great talent she is and Sean Hannity. He loves celebrities. So we know that about Trump. And I felt like when Bongino got hired, it maybe wasn't as good a fit for him as radio or podcasting. I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong on this. It's only a hunch. I got nothing. I've got no stories. I've not heard anything about Bongino. There's been no public trouble. But when Bongino got there, the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks or so, he was very public. Do you remember that? He was everywhere. Like, he was going to be the spokesman for the FBI. Like, that was going to be his role. And for some reason, they stopped that on a dime. Like, yeah. He gets rolling sometime live on the air. We may be in real trouble here. So maybe Andrew Bailey does more of that. Maybe the lawyer should come in and handle that more than the radio guy. I would cede that position, Andrew Bailey, in a heartbeat and say, Andrew, you go speak legally about what's going on here. I'll help you investigate. I'll go through the burn bags and see what kind of evidence I can find. I'm in on all that. I'll help however I can. But I don't think I should be the one out there speaking on behalf of the FBI. We might want to have the lawyer doing that. Or somebody a little less Bongino-ish. I don't know. Look, I'm not saying they're going to break up, but I just don't understand this. There's something that's missing at the FBI or something not right, or they wouldn't have brought Bailey in 6 months ago. If that's who they wanted and what they needed and what was there. Some people on the right have said, oh, they're bringing in the big shots now. They're going after Comey and Brennan and Clapper and all. They're all dead. They're toast. They're beefing up the staff. Maybe. I'm open to that. I won't tell people that are saying that that's wrong. But this feels like, to me anyway, a little bit of a Bongino thing. Just saying. One of the members from Europe that was in D.C. yesterday with President Trump was Finland President, he calls him Alex, Alexander Stubb. Alexander Stubb is, well, Trump called him young, but he's 57. He looks much younger than that. He gets up at 5 a.m. and does triathlon training. He's also an excellent golfer, so Trump loves him. He looks like a model. He's perfectly physically fit, and he's a really good golfer. So Trump likes the guy. Finland has 5 million people. Missouri has almost 1 million more people than Finland. Okay, this is not a big player at this summit meeting yesterday, but I sure enjoyed seeing him there, but it was an odd day in Finland. I'm not trying to bring your day down. While this was going on, a member of parliament in Finland committed suicide at the chamber while their president was here. It was a 30-year-old socialist Democrat MP in Finland. They had a wild day in Finland yesterday with a suicide in their parliament and their president in the United States with Trump gushing all over him because he's a great golfer and very young and good looking. Yes, there's the world we live in. When we come back, how USAID is breaking up the media, and bye-bye MSNBC on 95.7. All right, coming up in just a couple of minutes, MSNBC is dead. Trump has killed it. The channel's not going to go away, but a lot of big changes, and they're rebranding it. You won't believe how stupid the new name is, and the reason that all this is happening, and it's happening in giant corporate media everywhere in the era of Trump. The worm has turned. More on that coming up. First, we go to the phones today and check in with our great listeners of KCMO Talk Radio. We start with John in Lewisburg. Good morning, John. How are you, sir?
Wonderful. Hey, I'm going to take a different take on this Andrew Bailey as co-director. Obviously, Trump knows what he's doing and what's going on behind the scenes, and you've seen the frustration with Bongino. I think Andrew Bailey's coming in. Him and Dan are going to work together, and I think Kash Patel will be gone and replaced by Andrew Bailey.
Okay, I'm not. So you and I aren't disagreeing. I'm not saying it's a bad hire and Trump doesn't know what he's doing. What I'm saying is this sounds like a Bongino problem to me. So I'm going to ask you about 3 names, and nobody works for Trump for a long period of time, right? So let's take Kash Patel, Andrew Bailey, and Dan Bongino. Who do you think is the first one to be gone?
Kash Patel.
I'd put my money on Bongino.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean,
I'm
don't
gonna
you think
say
this
it's,
look? Don't you
Patel.
think this kind of looks like that?
No,
Okay.
no. I think.
How do you think
I think
Bongino
Trump-
handled it when they said we're bringing in a co-deputy director?
I think he was in on it.
Really?
Yeah, bring him in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Bongino and Bailey are going to work together, and Bongino say, "This is what I got. This is what we're working at." And Trump's going, "Hey, we've got to get someone above." And I think it's going to be Patel is gone, and Bailey takes over as the director.
Like, when do you think that's going to happen? Why would Kash Patel be gone?
I would say it's going to happen within the next month or two.
Okay. All right. Then we do differ on that take. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And listen, I'm not saying Andrew Bailey be bad at it. I think he's great. I think the guy's awesome.
Oh,
so
yeah. I think you're bringing in a guy who knows the law, and Bongino has obviously found things, and something's going on with Patel. Is my take.
All right. That's excellent. Hey, we got a deal to talk about somewhere down the road because we both agree Bailey's a great hire, and he's there for a reason, and Trump knows what he's doing. Let's find out. We just don't know why. It can't be good, though, right? I mean, this can't be – we can't just cover this one up with gravy and say, boy, these potatoes taste great, because there's something wrong here.
It's always going to be good if Trump is the one taking charge of it.
Well, yeah, but sometimes it's a train wreck with the people that leave. You know, Steve Bannon was fun Steve Bannon was fun for a while until he wasn't, right?
Yeah, correct. But I think Trump, they know what they're doing. There's so much behind the scenes we don't know about.
Agreed.
And
yes, I agree with you.
I trust Trump.
I do too. We're totally in agreement on that. But we think there's a reason he did this other than we're just beefing up the roster and bringing in Andrew Bailey. They could have done that 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think Trump has seen a problem and has
that's
said,
right.
okay,
that's right.
We got to move on.
And you think maybe it's Kash Patel, and I think maybe it's Bongino, and maybe it's neither. Maybe it's Pam Bondi.
Yeah. Hey, I'm fine with that one too.
So
Bondi can go.
Right. I mean, she was hired she was a celebrity, basically.
Yeah. She's worthless as far as I'm concerned. Until I see handcuffs on some people, I'm done.
Good stuff, John. You're awesome, man. We'll find out in due time, won't we?
Yes, we will. Have a good one, Kevin.
Thank you, you too, buddy. That's a great call because we're in lockstep on that. We just disagree on maybe what the problem is, but we're all just guessing.
We had a caller who didn't want to go on the air, but he wanted to remind us that Dan Bongino had some health issues last year, so maybe that could play into it as well.
Okay. Could. Yeah, it could be anything. But it doesn't feel to me like, oh, we've got so much work to do here, let's just beef up the roster. It doesn't sound right to me. It sounds like, okay, we got some things we got to iron out in here. Maybe we need a lawyer in there. Somebody, maybe, the frat boys are running this place. We might need to get a lawyer in here to see if it's okay to throw a kegger this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think they're going for the three-headed monster.
No.
I think one of them is going to be gone.
Something's going on there for sure. There are big things going on at Comcast, which is a giant corporation. You may know them as a cable company, but they're much more. They own NBC Universal, they own Peacock, they own movie studios, they own all this stuff. They got a gazillion channels, including CNBC, USA Network, E! Golf Channel, and many, many more. They own MSNBC, and of course they own NBC Television, which is still, even though network television isn't what it once was, these are still giant entities. NBC is a brand they want to protect. Comcast loves the NBC brand from an entertainment standpoint, from a sports standpoint, and NBC News. MSNBC has been hurting NBC News. It's obvious to see. One of the common things that happens, having worked in television for many, many years, is local television stations are not owned by the network. Some of them are, usually New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, maybe Dallas, Houston, Atlanta. They can own a certain number of stations that the network owns the biggest markets. But then there's hundreds of affiliates all over the place. Places like the CBS affiliate in Pittsburgh, Kansas, where I started my career. There are NBC stations all over the country in towns that you haven't heard of, and even into Canada. And in most of those places, what they can't really stand is NBC News. And it bleeds over to the local news. Like one of the things Fox 4 tries to fight in Kansas City, I don't know why they care about it and the other stations don't, but they're very concerned that people will see them as right-wing Fox News. They're clearly the fairest and most honest news in Kansas City, in my opinion. There's no slant to it. But NBC affiliates are getting crushed all over the country because NBC News went so far left. And MSNBC is associated with NBC News. All of their talent was crossing over. The people on NBC went on MSNBC, and they were supposed to be like, Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, and she would be like the White House expert, but then she'd get on there and she just hates Trump. You're like, well, that's not a reporter. That's not fair. None of this is honest. So they're breaking this up, and they're forming a company called Versant under the Comcast umbrella that's going to take some of these television channels and spin them off into something called Versant, maybe Versant, I don't know. They've changed the name of MSNBC to MS Now, and they've put a logo right in front of MS, and the logo looks like PMS Now. If you thought it was funny that people said PMSNBC, wait till you see this logo. They've created this little logo that I don't even know what it is of. But it's right there in front of the MS, and it might as well be a letter, and it might as well be a P, PMS Now. So the channel is called MS Now. And that is going to stand for my source for news, opinion in the world. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Nobody's going to know it is that. But they're keeping CNBC because CNBC's never really been political. It's a business channel. And they're leaving it the same, and they're saying, well, we're leaving it the same because CNBC stands for, have you ever heard this one? This is probably true, but I never really knew this. It stands for Consumer News and Business Channel. But the last three letters are NBC, and they have a peacock in their logo, which is the logo. The bottom line is Comcast is breaking up NBC. Andrea Mitchell and Steve Kornacki, the numbers guy, will stay at NBC News, but they will not cross over onto MS Now. Jose Diaz is moving to Telemundo. The only person so far it's been reported that gets to do work for both entities is Willie Geist, and that's because he's willing to work 6 days a week and go in and do Sunday Today. So he does the Sunday Morning Today show, which is mostly interviewing celebrities, having live music in the studio, talking about chili feeds in New Jersey and things like that. So Willie Geist apparently is okay to keep that as the host of that show, and he will stay on MS Now and do whatever it is that he does. I think he's on Morning Joe sometimes and things like that. But this thing's getting broken up, folks, as are all these big media properties. They're changing. The era of Trump, they're looking at this polling. Trump is at the new poll out today, 54% approval, 44% disapproval. Donald Trump is plus 10 with the American public. The Democrat Party is 19%. Donald Trump is 35 points ahead of the Democrat Party. And these are, I said on my podcast earlier today, just pinch me, will you? Please tell me I'm not dreaming. Is this really happening? I mean, it's just, and this is since the Putin thing. Like, he met Putin on Friday, new poll comes out, people love Trump. They're like, yes, you know why? They saw the badass flyover. That's what most Americans saw. They saw Putin on a red carpet with Trump, and they saw the flyover, the B-2 stealth bomber from Whiteman. And they're like, whoa, did Trump just do that? He just brought that man to the United States and buzzed him with the B-2? Yeah, okay. I think I'm changing my mind. I like this guy. I didn't like the last guy. He seemed a little weak. They told us what to do. They shut us down during COVID. They locked our kids out of school and said they're going to die when you're more likely to die of a dog bite than COVID if you're a child. That's a fact, by the way. More kids die in America from dog attacks than COVID. Oh, but they locked down our schools. No, the chickens are coming home to roost in a big way, folks. You can't. This younger generation lived through it and they saw it. There were kids 5 years ago that were 15 years old that really wanted to go on a date in their first car and didn't get a chance to do it. Take yourself back to when you were that age. What would you think of the people in charge that told you couldn't go out to Sonic because you might die? Wear a mask. You can't go. You can't go to the park. You can't go surfing. You can't go anywhere. You stay home and you don't go to school. You get on your computer. We've got technology. We're going to Zoom this in. You do what your teacher says and you sit at home and you do it. And you don't go anywhere. How do you think that went over with that generation? You think you were mad? I said all the way through COVID, man, if I was a teenager, to steal a young man or a young woman's teenage years when you're just learning about life, yeah, there's struggles for teenagers. I get it. There's peer pressure. There's some things about it that kind of stink. But for the most part, anything's possible. What's it like to kiss a girl? What's it like to drive my own car? What's it like to go where I want when I want? What's that feel like? What's a beer taste like? All of these things. They just stripped it and said, nope, stay at home with mom and dad because we know better. You'll be safe. And then they learned the truth. There was nothing to it for young people. Really nothing to it at all. And so this is all changing, folks. And these media, these people have been complicit in this thing. USAID has funded it. We're learning clearly the $50 billion for USAID was funding Antifa. They've just disappeared. And organizations around the world, we were sending money and aid to these places. It was getting stolen back by Democrats. They were feeding it to the media. $9 billion from public broadcasting is gone and defunded. How much were they getting from USAID? Because that's gone too. This was America's biggest slush fund. And the reaction from the media over Stephen Colbert's contract at CBS and all of the things we're seeing in different places, possibly a breakup of The View, CBS News has been purchased. There's a chance they start competing. What if they start competing with Fox News? What if CBS is owned and operated by people that are right of center? What if they start reporting news just with those questions in mind? Forget the way you write a report or your commentary or things like that. What if their journalists just go out that are to the right of center and ask questions pertinent to the American people that the American people care about? Not things like we talked about on the show yesterday, like, oh my God, it's 95 degrees. We can't play this soccer match because it's too hot. Because all the people that are in charge are wired to think that our planet is going to kill us because we're making it too hot. Not that they were consciously thinking that, but they're wired that way. I'm talking about how people are wired. What if just CBS News hires reporters that are wired to think about asking questions for things that are good for America, that are not questions that are against one party? Like, we don't care about our viewers. We don't care about our citizens. We don't like that guy in that party, so we're going to ask gotchas all day long and just do that. That's who and what we are, and that's all we do. What if they went out and started asking questions of, oh, Putin and Trump are here? Let's ask them questions that might be good for Americans to know. Let me ask Vladimir Putin this, because it's in the best interest of the American people. Wouldn't we be better served? Wouldn't more people watch and pay attention? Wouldn't it all be better? I trust that it would. Great to have you with us. The Vince Show is coming up at 11. Stick around for that. He'll have the latest from D.C. and negotiations on trying to get peace in Ukraine. Mark Van Parlay joining us now. Every Friday this fall, we're going to make a pick for you. We're going to have picks on Fridays. I'm going to enjoy this, and you and I are each going to have a best pick of the week if our listeners want to take our advice, and we'll keep track and see who does best. One game each, right?
I like it, yeah. Sounds like a fun time.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, college or pro. Doesn't matter. Yeah. One pick each. All right, Mark, why do you think Tom Cruise has turned down the offer to be honored by the Kennedy Center honors this December?
Because they wouldn't take Cindy Crawford?
That would be, I could live with that. The first thing you think is, he hates Trump. He's not coming, right? So they're calling this a scheduling conflict, and a lot of listeners are going to think I'm squishy on this one. But I think it's just, I don't think he's very political. I really don't. I've seen his movies. I think he just doesn't. I think he's afraid if he does it, people will think he's pro-Trump, and he doesn't want that either. I think he's just out.
Yeah. I thought he might be pro-Trump, but I've never seen him say anything like that.
His movies are pretty patriotic.
Yeah.
But there's money in that. Mm-hmm. And he owns the movie. He's like the producer. He owns the darn things. Did you see the flyover at the Cubs game?
I did. That was crazy.
What the heck? Is that pilot in trouble?
I don't know, but I love the reactions.
Okay, so an F-16 flew over the Cubs game at Wrigley, and it's the lowest flyover I've ever seen. He went just above like the flagpoles. They couldn't see him coming, and they couldn't hear him coming. And there's a dugout camera, and the Cubs are all in the dugout. This is, right, the anthem had just ended, and they all turn around, and they're reaching for their gloves. They just hit the deck. They're like, whoa, to the ground. This thing was loud.
I feel like they got to warn the players at least before they do a flyover, but maybe they didn't.
There is no way he was cleared to fly that low, was he?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So did you see the wide one with the fans?
I didn't see I just saw the camera go from the side.
Same thing. Down the left field line. A guy's shooting the flag and the scoreboard. He's at Wrigley. He's having his day. And all of a sudden the noise and his camera goes like this. It just starts shaking. And then everybody hits the deck and it flies over. It was full speed. I don't know how fast those things go. What, 600 miles an hour?
Oh, yeah. I've just been to the ones at Arrowhead, and you're far enough down into the stadium that it's not too scary. But I'm imagining if you're at a baseball stadium, that's got to be a little bit different.
I would be willing to risk my own safety for every flyover to be that cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I always think they fly over too high. I'm like, yeah, okay. Come on, bring it down a little.
As long as nobody has any hearing damage or something like that.
Yeah. They flew the helicopters one time. I was at Army-Navy game, and they brought in those the really cool what are they called? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They weren't the Tomahawks. They were the bigger ones. And they came up over the stadium and kind of down in a little bit and out. It was really cool. Awesome. But that was Army-Navy, so they clearly had clearance on something like that. I thought that was cool. An NFL season is 17 games, correct?
Yes.
You want to do some Mahomes versus another quarterback comparison stats for their last 17 games?
Sure.
Joe Flacco's last 17 games.
Oh, no.
He was just named the starter of the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
4,755 yards and 32 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes' last 17 games, 4,165 yards and 28 touchdowns. Joe Flacco?
They let him sling the ball around there. They're losing a lot, too, so they got to throw the ball.
Yeah, they're behind. Like when they're behind, you get more stats. Mm-hmm. He's 40. If they make the playoffs, I looked up the dates of the playoffs. It's like the first week of January, he turns 41. He could be 41 if the Browns made the playoffs.
Woo. First playoff game I ever saw was Joe Flacco starting for the Ravens against the Chiefs in 2009.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He had a run, man.
Mm-hmm.
Those were great defensive teams,
yeah.
And he was a good enough quarterback. So that worked out okay. Oh, I like this one. All three wild card teams ahead of the Royals are 10 games over 500. The Royals are now 3 games over. Don't you think 10 is the mark? Mark?
Yes, I do. I think you got to get to 10.
They're gaining ground. They're hot.
They can do it, yeah.
They won again. Everybody hit home runs last night. Right? Vinny with the 2-jack. That was the big one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it's fun to watch him win. Seth Lugo tonight, I'm not all that optimistic. I think he's hurt or there's a problem. He's been really bad his last few outings. We shall see. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show is up next on KCMO.